I bought an old-fashioned telephone the other day. You know, the sort of Baker-like telephones from the 1930s. Similar to this, but it's not this one. It was in a junk shop. Oh, sorry, not supposed to call them junk shops, are you? These days they're quite posh, these sort of emporiums of bygone days, heritage shops, that sort of thing. It's old stuff that would have been thrown away, that's been spruced up, flogged for a lot of money, and suckers like me go and buy it. Well, anyway, it was a lovely old telephone, and Bakelite, I think, very nice. And the good thing about it was it still had, you know, that old cord, that sort of brown twisted cord with a great big plug on the end, had one of those on it. It had an adapter, so you could plug the analog phone into an adapter, which then would plug into the digital wall thing for getting phone calls these days in this modern era that we live in. Anyway, it was a fantastic, lovely phone. The other great thing is it had the dial. You could dial up the numbers and it would do all that business, lift up the receiver, and you heard that wonderful old-fashioned purr, you know, the purr. And you could make your phone calls and go, hello, it's Richard here. I'm phoning on my old-fashioned phone. It's so lovely. And it was a delightful phone, actually. And but at home where I am, I usually use my mobile phone, so I very rarely have call for a landline as such, and mostly the calls that come in are from spam callers, and you know as soon as it goes hello, it's going to be a spam. But it is quite handy because I've had that number, the number that I have here, for such a long time, and there are people, you know, distant relations or friends of friends or people I once knew years ago, if ever they looked up in their address book or telephone book and go, oh yes, Richard, that's, if ever they wanted to get in touch, for example, they would be able to by ringing that number. So it's one of the reasons I keep it. So I wasn't expecting very many calls on this phone because I use my mobile, like I said. So it wasn't ringing very much. I had to actually ring it to make sure that it worked, and it would go ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling, you know, those, sorry, bring, bring. I can't really do it, but you know the old-fashioned chime on there. Ring, 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 ring. Hello. Worthing 972413, which actually isn't my number, just in case you try it. Anyway, so that was that, and I had it installed, and it was very nice. Then one night I heard in the middle of the night, at about 2 o'clock it was, I woke up and I heard this ringing sound, but it wasn't going ring, 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 ring. It was more like ding, ding, a tone that I hadn't really associated with a telephone, not like one of these old ones. But anyway, I realised it was the telephone ringing. So I got out of bed and I put my nightgown on and I came down the stairs and there it was. So I picked up the phone and said, hello. And as I got to it, of course, it'd taken me a while to get down there. It just cut off. There was nobody there. I thought, oh, bloody spam, isn't it? That's what it is. So I hung up and plodded back up to bed and went to bed and thought no more about it other than a few curses and swearing going on, and that was that. Well, it's strange because the next night at just after 2 o'clock I heard the same sound. I thought, hello, it's that sodding phone again. Blooming spam. It must be a time conversion because they're all in India, aren't they? And they ring up and they plague you. Maybe they didn't get their timing right. So I came down and I answered the phone and I said, yes. I was quite abrasive, I have to say. Yes, who is it? And again, there was nobody. But just as I was going to put it down, I heard this click sound, almost as if someone was going click, 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 like that. And then a voice, a very distant voice of a female. And she was saying, hello. And I said, hello? Hello? I said, hello. Can you hear me? Yes, yes, I can hear you, though you're very distant. Hello? Hello? Is that you, John? No, it's not John. Is it John you want? Hello, John, can you hear me? No, it's not John. Anyway, then suddenly, before I could make any more headway, another voice came on, a male voice. Hello, Cynthia. Yes, John here. Oh, hello, John. What are you doing on the line? Oh, John, darling, it's so good to hear from you. I said, great. I think, hello? think we've got a cross line here. Now this is something that we used to get. I've never had a cross line for years, but sometimes in the old days when I had a phone at home with the parents on an old dial-up, not as old as this, but I'm talking about in the sort of 70s, you'd get a cross line every now and again. But more, we had a party line with my neighbour. I think because my dad was a bit of a skinflint, you could probably have your own line, but cheaper, you could have a party line, which meant you shared the phone line with somebody else, and we happened to share it with a couple across the road. So sometimes you'd pick up the phone and they would be in mid-conversation about something, and you'd be waiting until, and you say, hello, look, I am waiting to make a very important call. Oh, I am sorry, I've monopolised the phone call, I'll get off, and all of that. But this was a bit different because I was saying, hello, I think we've got a cross line here. Oh, darling, are you all right? I've been so worried about you, and I have been worried about you. Do you know, is it safe to talk? Yes, it is safe. I said, hello. It seemed as if they were either ignoring me or they couldn't hear me. And I said, do you mind? Anyway, this went on. They were chatting. Does your husband know? No, he's perfectly fine. He's away in the other room. He doesn't know I'm on the phone. Oh, really? He doesn't know he's on the other phone. I see what's going on here. Oh, good darling. I have missed you so much. We must get together. Oh, we must. Anyway, can't talk for long. And then they were gone. Hello? Nothing. So I put the phone down and I thought, well, that was funny, wasn't it? Imagine in this day and age getting a cross line. So anyway, went back to bed, didn't think much about it. And then, blow me, the following night, yes, you've guessed it, a few minutes after 2 o'clock in the night, brrrling, brrrling. Well, I could have just sat on the step and waited for it. It was fairly predictable. Picked up the phone. Hello. Hello, John. No, it's not John. Hello, Cynthia. It's John here. Oh, you're already there. You were quicker this time. Yes, we must meet up. How are you fixed on Friday? Oh, darling, it's so soon. Yes, but if we don't move, we'll miss the moment. Oh, you're so right. You're so right. We will. What have you got in mind? Can you make it down to the coast? Oh, gosh. You want to meet out of London? Yes, I think it'd be safest. OK, darling. We'll meet. But where? How about Worthing? Worthing? What? Worthing? Oh, Worthing, yes. Yes, so much better than Brighton. Brighton is so seedy. Yes, it is, darling. There's a hotel in Worthing. I know that we can meet. I'll make reservations. Oh, where? Where is it, darling? The Warnes Hotel. It's a lovely place, opposite the seafront. We'll have a lovely room, and we'll have tea service and everything. I thought, blimey, they're talking a bit strange, aren't they? Tea service, Warnes Hotel. I knew where that was. I thought, oh, well, good luck to you. Can you hear me at all? Are you having a laugh? No, they couldn't hear me. And anyway, they seemed to go on and they made some arrangements, you see. Oh, darling, look, if you can get away on Friday, do try and catch the 1:15 from Victoria. It'll take you down. You should arrive at about 3:40. We'll wander up to the pavilion and then stroll along the prom to the Warnes Hotel. We could take tea and reception and then we'll have the whole night together. Oh, darling, it sounds absolutely, it's wonderful, spiffing. Anyway, it went on like that. I can't remember the exact words. And I thought to myself, oh, yeah. So they're going to come down to Worthing on Friday. I assumed it was this Friday or the Friday of the week that I was talking to them. They're going to come down and then they went further with their arrangements. The following night, again, 2 o'clock. I mean, I may have, as I say, I may have sat down there waiting and I started to listen in more. I was so intrigued. This is so bizarre, this phone call, these voices. And they said, oh, darling, what would you like me to wear? I thought, hello, what are you going to wear? Yes, I was intrigued. What are you going to wear, love? Of course, she couldn't hear me. He said, oh, I'd love you to be in that salmon dress of yours and bring the feathered boa. Oh, I will. I will dress up for you anything. And what about you? I should put on my pinstripe suit, but I'll put a carnation into the buttonhole. Oh, darling, you'll look so smart and suave. I cannot wait. I will swoon. I will see you at 3:40. I will be on the 1:15 from Victoria. I love you, darling. I love you too. Oh. And it went on like this. Anyway, they hung up. And I thought this was now Thursday by this point. And I thought, right, I know what I'm going to do. I will go down there on Friday and I will loiter outside Worthing Station at about 3:40 and see if they would come out. I would know now what they would look like, because she said she was going to wear a salmon dress with a feather boa and he's in a pinstripe suit with a white carnation. I mean, they would be so striking. It was so bleeding obvious what they looked like. And I thought, and they're supposed to be having what sounded like a clandestine affair. So, and then up to the pier and then along to the Warnes Hotel. And then it suddenly dawned on me, why didn't I think of this before? The Warnes Hotel? Wait, that's ridiculous. He said he'd made reservations at the Warnes Hotel. He must have meant the Chatsworth or the other one whose name, the Langley or something, escapes me. But the Warnes Hotel, it couldn't be the Warnes Hotel, no, because that burnt down in 1987. I wasn't living in Worthing at the time. It was about 5 years before I'd moved down here, in actual fact. But the newspapers had articles about the big fire, and then there was a corner piece that was left and stayed like that till about 2000, something like that. And then they built apartments. It looks like a hotel, I grant you that. Because they made it in Edwardian style, which was very nice to see. I think they were forced to do that rather than a big sort of block of flats with glass frontage and stuff. But it's not a hotel anymore. At least I was absolutely sure it wasn't a hotel. It was apartments. So anyway, I went at Friday and I loitered from 3:30, waited for about the 3:40 train to come in, and a few trains did come in. I didn't time them precisely, and a few people came out. Of course, 3:40 was it 3:40 or was it 2:40? Because that was a bit strange. Anyway, whatever the time was, I came out because of the school run, you see. But I waited there for ages. Nobody came out at that time, and I strolled up to the pier. And I waited there. No sign of this couple in pink and pinstripe. And then I went down to confirm for myself whether the Warnes Hotel was a hotel or was residential flats, apartments. And it was. There was no way that they could stay, so that either somehow got to the Chatsworth, or that they had got confused at the Warnes Hotel or got on an earlier train, or somehow I'd missed another phone call, or they'd called the thing off and got cold feet and the clandestine affair wasn't going to happen. And I was miffed. I can tell you, I was miffed. And I strolled back to the house and I started to think some odd things. Now, I'm very sceptical about the paranormal and unusual things that go on, and bumps in the night and what have you. But I know that I hadn't dreamed this. I had got the phone and it had rung 3 times in the middle of the night, and I had heard these voices. I knew that I wasn't going mad, and they'd been speaking, but they weren't ringing anymore. And I started to think, wait a minute, this is an old-fashioned phone from the 1930s. Not this one, as I say, the one that I looked at. And I thought to myself, I wonder, it didn't necessarily have to have come from, I got it from a junk shop. It didn't necessarily have to come from Worthing. Maybe it came from London. Maybe this phone was used by that couple back in the 30s. Is it possible, I thought, I know this is ridiculous, this sounds most stupid and macabre and out of the ordinary, but is it possible that a telephone, a communication device, can somehow, in some way, record the conversations of the past and bring them back to the future? Did I hear the ghostly sounds of people now long dead who'd had some clandestine relationship and actually came down on that Friday night and met at the pavilion and promenaded along the prom to the Warnes Hotel years before it would even have burnt down? And had I been witness to that over the last few nights? I was determined to find out more about the telephone. Where had it come from? So I put it in a bag and I went back to see the owner of the, I nearly said junk shop then, of the Bygone Years Emporium shop. And as I came in the door, he said, "Oh, hello, how are you? You're the fella that bought the stage phone, aren't you?" I said, "Pardon? You bought that stage phone from the theatre production?" I said, "What do you mean?" theatre production. Oh, that's right, yes. Oh, you've got it there, have you? He picked it out the bag and he said, look, turn it upside down. Yeah, it was a stage production. It was some sort of love affair thing. And in the bottom of the phone was one of those old-fashioned dictaphone tapes that connected in it with a little timer. And he said, blow me, look, the battery's been lodged back into position. And it was only a few years ago they put that on. The battery's still got life in it and the dictaphone tape still works. Oh, the timer's set for 2 in the morning. Supposed to go on, I think, at about 8 o'clock. Yes, it's funny because you can connect that to the theatre PA system and the phone call conversation would come out over the theatre so the audience could hear it. Lovely phone it was, yes. You had trouble with it? I said, yes, I was thinking of selling it. Oh, I'll give you a £5 for it. I said, you're done. Ghosts indeed, I ask you.